Welcome to the Conrad Asplund Show, where we talk about business and the arts and all the intersections in between. This episode is brought to you by the Berklee College of Music. I love this school and their classes are fantastic. I've taken many of their classes myself. Berklee College of Music, now offering bachelor and master's degrees online. Today's guest is Steve Such. Steve is the trap kit specialist, or you can simply call him a drummer, for the Broadway smash Rock of Ages with NCL International out of New York, and also drummer for the Red Hot Chili Peppers tribute group, the Red Not Chili Peppers. You may know Steve from his viral YouTube video, 100 Rules for Drummers, featured on Drum Talk TV and DrummerWorld.com, or as the creator of Chops Fit, a cross-training system for drummers. Steve proudly endorses Evans Drumheads and ProMark sticks. He also holds a degree in jazz performance from Indiana University, Bloomington. I've worked with Steve on live shows and many recording sessions in New York. He is, in two words, absolutely incredible, both on and off the stage. In this interview, he talks about his approach to practice and visualization. Here we go. Enjoy. If you can just give me a rundown of your formal education.
My formal education. I went to Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana, and I started out doing a music education degree, and I got about 3.5 years into that program, and then I decided that that was not the right path for me. So I switched to a jazz performance major, and I ended up finishing with a jazz performance degree and a minor in music education. So I have an undergrad in music.
I'd be interested to know what was it that made you realize it was not the right path for you to go into music education?
Well, it's actually kind of a funny story because it all kind of comes down to my best friend at the time in college. So him and I, we really bonded because we were both music education majors, but we both kind of felt like it wasn't necessarily what we wanted to do. We kind of got into the degree because we thought it might be the, quote unquote safe route to get the degree, something that's actually valuable in the job force. So we kind of went through the music education program, but in the back of our minds, we knew like we were a performer first, and anything that we have that's valuable to teach to someone else would be gained through experience performing our instrument. So for us, we kind of felt like the mindset was flipped. Like we were going to school to learn how to teach, but we didn't actually learn anything valuable on our instrument. And it was just kind of this backwards idea, and we didn't feel inspired in that degree program. And so one day I'm just hanging out with Derek, that's his name, Derek, and he was just like, dude, I switched my major today. I'm going to be a performance major next semester. And I was like, no way, dude, that's amazing. But then at the same time I was like, well, if he can switch, it kind of just all of a sudden it hit me like a brick wall. I was like, okay, if he can do it, if he can like have the courage to switch majors this far along, well, maybe I could. So it's actually kind of funny that my friend is the one that inspired me to change, but I guess when he did it, he made me realize, well, what am I doing? Like, this is not really what I want to do in life. I don't want to be a high school band director. I want to play my instrument. So, yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, it does. You mentioned that you didn't feel inspired doing the music education route.
Yeah, well, the reason is because I was studying all of this stuff related to music, but I wasn't studying the drum set, which is the reason why I got into music in the first place, was the drum set. And when you do the music education route, you're learning string instruments, you're learning piano, you're learning brass instruments, woodwind instruments, you're learning conducting and keyboard and everything, but the only drumming you're doing is maybe a concert band where you're playing classical percussion. So I was doing everything but playing drum set, and that's why I felt uninspired, because I was like, what am I really doing? I'm not, I'm learning to be a better musician, but I'm not actually getting better at the drum set. So that was the big thing. You know, that was kind of a problem.
If you're inspired on something, what's that like? How do you know that you're inspired on something?
If I'm inspired, it means that I can't wait to get started on that, or I can't, like, you know, when I feel inspired when it comes to drumming, like, I can't wait to sit down and start playing music. Or, you know, if there's a class that I really felt inspired to go to, it was like I was actually looking forward to going to that class, versus, you know, some of the music education courses that I took where I'm teaching, you know, little kids how to play a fake xylophone or something. That wasn't necessarily inspiring to me at the time, because I wasn't like, yeah, I can't wait to go do this. I think there's like this famous CEO that said, when you're thinking about doing something, it should be hell yeah or no. In other words, you should be like, yes, I absolutely want to do this, or no, I'm not going to do it. There should never be a middle ground. It should just hell yeah or no is kind of the mindset. I think that's kind of what separates being inspired from not being inspired.
So would you say when you're inspired on something, it's not this wispy poetic feeling, it's this all-in excitement, and you definitely know you're inspired? Like, there's no question about it?
Yeah, I think it's when you feel driven to do something, you know, maybe not everyone is the same as you or myself, but I feel like when we get inspired about something, our mindset shifts, and then we decide what actions do we need to take to get that thing done. So if we have a project that we feel inspired about, we then, you know, make a list of things that we need to do, and we take it step by step, and it becomes a process. But you need that inspiration first to be your fuel to be able to take those actions. And if you're not inspired, then you don't see a purpose in what you're doing. You're just doing it for the sake of doing it. And I don't think that's necessarily healthy.
What are some of your approaches to your practice time and how you develop yourself as an artist with your chops?
Recently, I had a big audition with a major pop artist, and as part of that process, what I wanted to do was basically mimic, for the audition, I wanted to mimic exactly what that situation would be like, for every little detail, you know, to the smallest detail. You know, first, what material do I need to know? So I learned an entire live set of music from this artist, just to be safe, because I didn't know what material was going to be called. So I'm like, okay, well, if I don't know what material is going to be called, I should learn all of the major hits, because there's a really good chance that I'd be playing that material at some point. So what I did was I took an entire live show, I downloaded that video, and then I transcribed the entire show, note for note. It was like a 20-minute set. And I guess my process is I just break it down into as small of steps as possible. So, for example, with this 20-minute set, there was 5 songs. So for each song, I broke it down, and I just spent time on that one song, transcribing everything note for note. So I'd listen to the song, then I'd write a form chart, and then I'd take it a step further, and I would write out literally all of the hits, all of the figures, you know, what kind of drum fills he did. I basically, what my objective was to try to make it to where if I'm going into that room, it feels just as comfortable playing with me as it is playing with their old drummer. I wanted it to be seamless and note for note. You know, taking it a step further, I was wondering, well, for this audition, I wonder if there's going to be a click track. Because again, I'm trying to create that situation as close as possible. So I reached out and I found out, yeah, there's going to be a click. So what did I do? I made a click track and I overlaid it on top of the video. So when I was practicing in the practice room, I had the click track going. Then, you know, I memorized all the music, and then I started to work on more of the mental game. So I had people enter the room and stick a video camera right in my face as I'm playing and mimic that audition kind of pressure that you get. And sure enough, when I did the audition, that's exactly what happened. There was a click track, and there was a girl that had an iPhone right in my face as I was doing it. And I was so proud that I did that level of preparation, because the audition ended up going amazing. I did my absolute best. I didn't end up getting the gig, and I'm okay with it, because I did my absolute best. And like, I walked out of the room knowing that I was completely prepared. And I think it's important to focus on the details, because then when the pressure really comes up, you're comfortable. You're okay because you've put in all that work beforehand, and there's no curveball that's thrown at you because you've thought about everything. So I know that's a long answer, but I'm actually I feel very strongly about preparation. I think it's really important, and I think that not enough people prepare well enough. I don't think people prepare well enough for things usually.
Now, I would think a lot of people, when they have an audition, they would get the music, and they would just look at the music and learn it. It seems like you really zoomed out to visualize the situation from multiple angles, from their angle, from your angle, what you had to do technically. Would you say that that was part of it, is this visualization of the setting?
Yes. So, as nerdy as this might sound to admit, the day before the audition, I actually I typed like in a journal, and I was basically describing the audition as it unfolded. So everything, like from when I woke up, I wake up, I go into the shower, I have an apple and some coffee, I do a little meditating, I do some yoga, I drive to the audition, I grab my cymbal bag, I walk in, just every little detail. I shake hands with the person, I say hi, I walk in, I'm confident, I'm feeling great. Like, these were all things that I wanted to experience in my mind before it actually happened. And the funny thing, man, is that the audition basically went exactly how I imagined it. It was amazing. It was an amazing experience because, again, I had that mental preparation. I was excited, and but I didn't feel like, I felt nervous from excitement. I didn't feel nervous because I was unprepared, if that makes any sense. I was nervous because I was excited, versus just being like, well, I hope this goes well. I knew it was going to go well because I had done the preparation, and I had mentally prepared as well.
Now, that kind of preparation and that attention to detail, I mean, it's very detailed. It's almost like you took a movie script and imagined an entire scene. Was this something you learned somewhere, or something you just do as a natural process?
Well, I definitely have entered the never-ending rabbit hole of a lot of the self-help stuff that's been out there lately. People like Tony Robbins and Tim Ferriss and Michael Jordan and all these athletes and just top performers in their field. They used visualization, and I've started to incorporate it in my life, and I think it's very helpful.
It seems to me that approach would work for many different areas. It's just that you happen to choose music.
Absolutely. I think that's a really important thing to know, is that you can basically apply this to any area of your life. So if there's anything that you're stressed about or anything that's big in your life, it doesn't matter what your job even is. You can apply all these principles. So let's say you want to go in and do an interview for a job, just a normal job. You could use the same techniques that I did. So, I'm just kind of thinking out loud here, but you could be thinking about all the questions that person would ask. You could do research on that person and get an idea of where they're coming from. You could visualize, like I mentioned earlier, you could visualize that the morning of and how you're feeling and what you're doing, and you enter the room and how the conversation goes, and then what happens when the conversation's done, and then how you leave the room. And I think that's important because you're getting reps in before you've even done it, and I think that gives you a huge advantage. Think about the reverse of that. The reverse of that is not doing any of that, and then you have no idea when you walk in the room. You don't know how it's going to go because you haven't even thought about the possibilities. I just think that visualization is really important, and it just gives you a leg up. It makes things easier.
And I would imagine those things, even if, let's say, you didn't get this particular gig, a lot of those elements that you learned over time are going to become second nature, and it just builds your toolkit, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I'll admit I was bummed that I didn't get the gig, but, it was a great experience, and now I can say that I've done it. And again, I'm really proud of what I did. I don't feel like I failed the audition. Yeah, I didn't get the gig, but to me, I did my absolute best, and I played well, and I was prepared. And that's really all you can ask for. After that, it just becomes out of your control. So I focus on the things I can control.
You know, you have so much information that seems so extremely valuable for fellow artists, well, and entrepreneurs, and people of all skill levels, but it seems like a lot of what you've talked about would be so important for students that are really starting their serious study. Where are some places people can find out more information about you, or see some of your tutorials?
They can visit my website at stevesuchdrums.com. And I guess one other thing that I would mention is that I've started a weekly blog that I'm really excited about. Last year, I did a small little project where I asked 100 musicians, drummers, educators to give their top piece of advice for drummers. And I made a video of their answers. The catch was that they could only use 3 words. And the cool thing is that everyone's answers were, completely different. And what I realized was that you could apply all of these rules, almost every single one of them, you can apply them beyond the drums and into your life, into your everyday life, or other aspects of your life, or whatever your field is. And so I've turned all of that into a blog where I kind of deconstruct all of that. So yeah, if you want to check that out, it's also on my website, stevesuchdrums.com. Thanks for doing this. Was fun.